Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Contact Lost, the best English-speaking Polish podcast about competitive Warhammer 40k out there. I am your host, Tweak, or Tomek, and with me today I have my two trusty co-hosts, now usuals. First of all, we have Patrick Majson. Welcome.
Hello there.
And my usual co-host from the very beginning, so Michał, also known as Joker. Hi, dude.
Hey guys.
Also, welcome to everyone in the chat. I see we have some people watching, which is great. So welcome. It's great to have you. Thank you for joining us. And hopefully you will join us also in the future episodes. But let's make this one an interesting one. So before we start, guys, maybe, a short intro. How have you been? What have you been doing? How has Christmas been? Have you got anything interested 40k wise? Majson, let's start with you.
Yeah, I took a break from 40k.
Which is
I got my new guitar to play on, so
oh sweet.
no
That's
40k for a couple of days. So.
All right, but that's good for everything, for mental health, for
Yeah.
I don't know, just taking a break and another look at the game. Joker, how about yourself?
I've actually done the same thing. I think that my last 40k activity was playing in the Stratagem League against Majson. Actually, I think that was like the Monday the week before this one.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, I've done absolutely nothing 40k related up to today.
Okay.
I must admit and interfere about this tournament. It was so lovely to play with you guys, because yeah, like you play international league just to play Polish guys. Or, yeah, the feeling.
Yeah, it's actually funny that we have never played each other before, and we needed to go into a foreign league to actually face one another. So yeah, but it was amazing as well. Very educational. It gave me an inspiration to one of the Thoughtful Thursdays posts, so it couldn't be better. Right. Okay. We have an agenda for today, and we have a topic for today. Again, before we jump into it, please make sure that you follow, subscribe, and like whatever we do. Also, check out the description of this video or this stream, because we have our two amazing sponsors mentioned there. We have the Army Painter and Weyland-Yutani, that we are very thankful for their support. And we want to say thank you. So we would like to send you guys their way. So do visit their websites, do order from them, do memorize their names and get back to them, because they are helping us, they are helping the community, and they can help you with their amazing products. Now, with that out of the way, today we are discussing 10th edition. Many podcasts out there are doing some sort of year summaries and so on. We didn't really want to do that, because if you've been with us for the year, you know exactly what we have done. We don't need to recap this. So we came up with something else, with something different. And we decided that 6 months in and 4 books in, perhaps it's time to assess whether the 10th edition has been good, whether it meets our expectations, whether it needs improvement, and so on and so on. So what we are going to do, we are going to approach 10th edition from the perspective of the 3 people that we have here. So let me just set the scene and set the context. We have Majson, who, as you probably know, is the current reigning world team champion, because together with Team Poland, he has won the WTC. So we have an expert, a pro, and we will ask him. I will pitch some ideas, some aspects of 10th edition, and then I will ask Majson to give his explanation and rating from 1 to 10, whether he likes it, whether he dislikes it, whether it could have been better, and so on and so on. Michał, or Joker, is going to do the same. He is the representative that I described as X-1, meaning he is the ambitious player who wants to be the best. He is the player who is supporting the Polish national team in all manners possible. And he is the player who goes to events and really wants to win them and is usually that far away from winning them. So this year in Toruń, I think, he played Vladi in the final, and really it was a very close game, and he could have secured the first spot, but he just missed it by a small bit. But again, a very competitive player, so it will be interesting to get his point of view on the matter as well. And then last but not least, you have myself. So a scrub, the mid-table terror, who basically has probably a different approach to the game, which maybe many people out there can identify with. So, three different approaches, and we are going to see whether GW has done a good job running this edition, introducing it, and so on and so on. Are we guys ready to do it? Do we have any other like prefaces or anything else that we want to mention before we start?
I think let's go with the agenda.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, let's go.
Right. So I'll be noting down our notes, and at the end we will summarize it. We will like calculate the mean or something if we want to, and we shall see whether our rating for the edition is high or low. So let's start with the thing that kicked it all off. So basically, 10th edition was introduced somewhere mid-year this year, so 6 months ago. And when they announced it, the first thing they did was like this whole build up for the 10th edition. So there were daily posts introducing army concepts. Like every day, they posted something about a particular army. This lasted for about 2 weeks. They posted not only about armies but also about some new rules and so on and so on. How did you enjoy that? Is this something that dragged on for too long, or was this something that really hyped up the edition and made you impatient for it to eventually come out? Majson, let's start with you.
Okay, so first of all, I must admit that I'm not into any kind of hype about new rule sets and new stuff. I might have known GW for some time. I'm playing their game for a couple of years, and I know that they're building this hype, and it's always like a similar approach. So the news about 10th edition was like, okay, but nice. We have another set of rules, but we have to really work harder for WTC and stuff. So I'm not into the hype, to be honest. I like the daily posts about armies, but I didn't care about the content, because you never know the actual rules and actual competitive stuff about the fragment of a piece of rules. You need the whole rule set to assess the current data sheets or rules as a whole in a holistic view. Just a scratch of this is not relevant for competitive play, in my opinion. So I will always kind of skeptical about the hype and build up phase. So that's my opinion.
So I need to ask, because this year it was kind of important how much GW tells you, because the WTC was happening pretty much right after the edition kickoff. So did this build up, this hype up, this whatever GW was doing with those snippets of information, did they help you in any way to at least predict which armies will be the ones that you will have to focus on in your preparation for the WTC? Or was the information too scarce and you still waited for like all the information to come out to test all the armies back then, because you didn't have a lot of time to prepare, right?
Yeah. So we knew that Eldar will be strong. that was kind of obvious when the rule sets arrived. So yeah, it's some kind of help. Of course, you read through it, but you always have to keep in mind that there will be like the full rules release, and then you can actually compare on the top level armies, and you cannot discard armies at the very beginning of the process, because it doesn't work like that.
All right, Joker. How about you? So, how about your perception of this whole build up? Was this something? Was this like a nail biter for you every day to see what the next army or your armies are going to be like, or similar to Majson, not attaching too much attention to it because it's snippets of information and not everything?
No, I get hyped easily. I'm a fanboy to add to that, so definitely I was looking for each and every one of them, hoping that the next day is going to be one of my factions. Let's go. They're going to be OP shit, and I will finally win some tournaments because my army's broken. Obviously, that's
Hmm.
what we really want to for our armies to be broken, not
Clearly.
the opponent ones. Why do I not own Eldar? I don't know. It's clearly that's what I should do to
That's your
start
mistake.
winning. Yep. Yep. So yeah, I mean, I think that was done okay-ish. I know I'm not really happy with the previews they do recently. I mean, there's a lot of hype there, and then they show
Hmm.
like a fucking Dark Angel. Who cares about that? Uh, and there's some cool stuff. But that was really cool. There's one thing I didn't like, and that was the fact that the indices weren't released all on the same day. But it was grouped by like Space Marines. I think were
Hmm.
first, the group of them. Then you had Chaos, Xenos, and the rest of the Imperium, or however it
Something like that.
was done.
Hmm.
That's the one shade I'm throwing. I would have preferred to just have them all on one day, so you could just get right down to playing and not, you have your rules, I don't. Yeah, sorry, mate, we can't play tonight.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. So, my 2 pence on that. I loved it. I think that this is the thing that GW did well and right. So those daily posts, you could tell that there is this yearning for more information in the community. So it wasn't just a Polish Discord; it was any Discord that you were in, all the Facebook groups and so on. People were actually waiting for that. At least all the fluff bunnies and so on. But it was a new edition. It was something fresh. People wanted to, as you rightfully said, people wanted to see whether their faction will be OP or not. Uh, I must say that as a Death Guard fan, when I saw what they displayed, and I think they showed Blight Lord Terminators and highlighting that their toughness 6 is going to be really important. It didn't sit well with me. It didn't really convince me. And then we saw what happened with the index when it came out. So that wasn't an amazing preview compared to the others, but overall. I think doing this like day by day and so on. This made like a full 2 weeks of definitely attaching a lot of attention to the Warhammer community website, and I think if they do release it like that in the future, they should probably repeat now. So, how would you guys rate this aspect of, let's say, 10th edition? So the hype up, the build up, the display of information, and so on. Myson, how you
Yeah.
said that you didn't attach a lot of attention to it. What's your
But
rating then?
to be fair, it was like a good hype build up.
Hmm.
I would say it was like about 7 in a 10 scale, because it
Hmm.
was, from objectively, it was really good, really prepared in well manner, and it was a good build up for someone
Hmm.
who attached to that.
Okay.
But there might be some issues with that, like maybe they should release some more information. But that's my personal opinion. That's why it's like 7, not a higher score. That's
Okay.
my opinion.
All right. Joker, how about you?
I'm giving it a 9 because of the reason I mentioned.
Hmm. Okay, fair. And I will also give it a 9 because, again, there's always room for improvement. There could have been more information. There could be more precise or more to the point, or just better structured. But a 9 is a solid rating nonetheless. So the second thing on my list, still sort of related to the pre-release thing, but I have the trailer, so the video that foreshadowed like what the box is going to be. We had the Space Marines fighting Tyranids, um, and then let's throw into that bucket the new models, the new starter box, and the datasheet layout. Again, my son, seeing the trailer, seeing the box and the contents of the box, did that make you excited that maybe your army will also get new models or anything like that?
So first of all, I of course bought the starting box and assembled the models. So to be fair, none of those armies are like my main armies right now. So I know that all there are always Space Marines like in the box, and I sold my Space Marines armies a while ago because it's like never-ending collection that you can have like four
Expand
or
and
five
expand.
armies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just don't have a place for on the shelf for that. Uh, but to be honest, like starting books, I think it's really good for new players, and that's the opinion that I also get from people around. That it's quite nice starter books, and models are actually nice. To be fair, regarding the models in the, I will also include all models that are released so far. I'm kind of disappointed for 40k releases. I mean, I took some time and I also watch Age of Sigmar models in parallel, and the like quality level is there's a so difference in like quality. In my opinion, that Age of Sigmar models are just really nice and better than what we receive for 40k, and we can, for example, see the worst model that came out this year was the one new Admech like character one
On
that,
stilts.
come on, what the hell is that? I saw that and I was like, oh, come on, I would really struggle if I find this competitively. I need to have this on table because why?
I mean, does it do anything? I don't know the rules for that, but is it at
Yeah,
least
I
competitive
mean
rules wise?
it's supposed to be a sniper character, but you can get like a Vindicator Assassin for 15 points more, which is way better. And have you seen the Vindicator Assassin on the table recently?
It
Yeah,
speaks volumes.
yeah.
Hmm.
So,
All right.
but that's my personal opinion, of course, about that. I'm just in model wise, I'm kind of disappointed this edition. We'll see what else GW can bring to further releases. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's it.
Okay. And what about the new data sheet form, let's call it? So,
Uh,
with all the weapon loadouts on one page, with the invulnerable save rules on the side, picture of the model, so you know what it is like. Like, is this something that you pay attention to as a pro player in general, or they could have given you an Excel file and that would be fine as well?
for me, Excel file is completely fine, but it's just a competitive mindset.
Mm,
But to be honest, I really like that this new data sheets. I mean, even as they were also released as a big format cards that you can use, and the structure of new sheet is something I like.
hmm.
I like the layout, and this is really like clear and that what's basically every information is there, so you don't need to like look for all the pages and stuff. If you
Hmm.
learn USRs, so universal rules
Hmm.
by heart, then there's not a problem to understand what's written in the datasheet.
Okay. All right. Joker, same for you. Trailer, new models, new box, new data sheets.
Yeah, so okay, starting in the order you mentioned, the trailer, couldn't be more bothered about it. It's a miniature game. I mean, what can you do as a trailer for it, right? Then again, the models, I think it's and I also think that a lot of Space Marine players might disagree with me. I think it's nice that they've revamped the old units and that they're still usable, the Sternguard Vets, the Terminators, and that they're better scaled compared to the Primaris Marines or whatnot. I think I was a little disappointed in the Tyranids. I think there's like so much room for creativity there, and the Screamer Killer is kind of underwhelming, in my opinion. The Norn Emissary could have been a bit bigger and more intimidating, but that's
I
me
don't think the
actually
Norn
being a bit.
was in the box, but yeah.
Oh yeah, but well, Majson elaborated to all the
Hmm.
models that have been released in 10th.
True that.
So I'm just going with the flow here. So that's maybe that. And yeah, I also agree that that like releasing one character for a codex and they're only coming out like every 2 months at best. That's a little bit. You'd want more, I think, from a modeling perspective, even more so probably than a competitive one. Did I miss anything? Is there anything else that
The
we
data
were?
sheet.
The data sheets. I can't really remember what the ninth ones looked like. Are they a change for the better? I also think I couldn't be more bothered about it. Uh, does is the change of like ballistic skill and weapon skill being on the weapon profile? Is that what we're discussing
Yeah,
here? And is that in
that's
the
that.
next point
Plus,
actually?
like, the weapon stats and the unit stats basically on one page. All the special rules are also everything is a sort of crammed on one page, so that you have a single point of reference for the entire unit. You don't have to jump to the end of the book or anything like that.
Yeah, but I mean that's how it was, right? Pretty much in at least
Yes,
ninth, eighth.
yeah, I
And
think
I
there
don't
was
think
no
you'd
this.
jump.
There wasn't the
Maybe for
difference.
weapon profiles.
As you said, the weapon profiles, the ballistic skill, the weapon skill, and so on. I think that was not assigned to the weapon at all, but to the
Yeah,
unit.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's the one change. But in terms of layout, etc., I don't know. I really didn't notice it to feel any different, to
Hmm,
be honest.
yeah. Fair enough. Okay. Uh, from my point of view, I love the trailer. I am a huge fan of things like that. When I played computer games in the past, like I adored Blizzard's story building using, cinematics like this, and I think this cinematic was amazing. It was really cool. It set the tone for the edition. What followed next? I think the trailer was so good that it set the expectations higher than what the box actually delivered. Especially as you said about like the Tyranids, there is so much room for improvement or like room for creativity, and they just didn't show it. The models that came out either are not very interesting. Like I really dislike the Screamer Killer. I don't like this model. I don't like the way it looks. I don't like the pose. I think it's too huge, too difficult to move around the table. Maybe from like the perspective, if you want to put it on the shelf as a centerpiece model, okay, fine, but nothing else. And then they didn't follow up with points. The unit simply doesn't see the table competitively. So same about Psychophage. The model is great, but it just doesn't do anything. So and they even nerfed it when the book came out. Uh, Space Marines, very generic, very bland, very flavorless, I would say. Maybe apart from the lieutenant, who was, I think he came out in the box with like Tyranid carapace on him and so on. Yeah, that was kind of tasteful. That was interesting, but the box could have been better. Data sheets are okay, and whatever else was there that I asked about. Uh, no, that's it. So what would you guys rate it, Majson?
So starting from a 5, it's like +1 for starter box, -1 for models, and -1 dedicated for admech model. So
Okay.
I need to do that. Sorry, sorry, GW. It's 4 and +2 for data sheets because I really like it. So it will be a 6 if
S6.
I
Fine.
can calculate it this time. So.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds reasonable. Joker, your rating.
I'm gonna give it a 5.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. I can see why. I didn't mention like the models that came out outside of the army box. I think the Norns are probably the best looking Tyranid models out there. So they were like the saving grace because the original box. I mean, the Von Ryan Leapers are also kind of nice. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go with a 6 as well, just because they did a good job with the data sheets. They did the good job with the follow-up models for the Tyranids, and that's what's saving them. The rest, so. The previous like army boxes or game box start boxes, I think, were more impressive, and that they could have done a better job with this. Um, okay, now uh, we're getting closer to that competitive aspect of the game. So let's start with the topic of army building. So by army building, I mean uh, going a little bit away from points and actually having power levels as something that um, determines what the unit is equipped with. There is no force organization chart anymore, so you basically can bring in whatever you want in the army. What do you think about that? Majson, let's start with you.
Okay. So first of all, I have to admit that no force organization chart is like good idea. The army building was so confusing for new players recent editions, and when doing intro gaming and talking about new players, it was so confusing for them how do I actually build an army. And it was not that relevant for competitive play because you always had like one or two approaches for that. So, but it just changed with the another rules. So either you are doing multiple detachment or you optimize into one detachment. But basically, it was always like a one solution for that in the current meta game, or maybe two at some point. But it didn't matter that much in competitive aspect. And for new players, it was like really hard and harsh to understand what's happening there. So I really liked it that they moved from it to this kind of building. What I don't like personally, because I think the idea is good, but it doesn't work well. It's like limiting to some kinds of power levels. So not including like points for weapons and stuff. It would be good if you can balance out all the weapon choices within like a data sheet, like flamer, melta gun, plasma gun, and stuff. You can balance them out. If you can do it, then it's really good. But you will never like balance all the choices, and in the end, you just struggle to fit last 10 or 20 points in your list because you basically will always like left over. I don't like it. I like this micro optimization things, and it allows also to balance some options. What's good about that is that they decided to like limit the weapon options to what you have in a box, so you no longer have to like invest a lot of stuff to call basically your energy into collecting beats for weapons. So that's actually a good stuff. And they started to do it also in ninth edition. So that's a good step, I think.
Okay.
Have I missed something?
Well, we will jump to the topic of the app, like the Warhammer app for army building in a moment, like as an extra point. But also the army building or the way you build armies right now, it also allows certain factions to bring allies. So like Chaos Demons can bring, the Chaos Knights can bring demons, Death Guard can bring demons, for example, Imperium factions can bring assassins. Is this something that you find good, and is this something that you yourself use or would potentially use, or is this actually something that is breaking the game?
I don't think this is breaking the game. It actually makes some factions usable, like Renegade Knights or Chaos Knights. They benefit a lot from taking some demons. Otherwise, it will be like there will be struggle with some things by the design of the faction. So just big robots. I don't think there are any balance issues right now with allies. Like all the allies options are let's say it's kind of weak on their own. Like Demon's Codex is really low tier right now, but they can make some use in lists, in chaos lists in general.
Okay.
So I don't mind. It's okay.
Okay. Joker, same question to you.
So I'm very much on the fence about the whole simplification thing regarding army building because, yeah, like Majson said, when you could do that micro optimization, when you had different attachments, so the force organization charts, you could really like show your genius in list building, I feel like, which you can't really do anymore because you can just take whatever you want. So that aspect's kind of taken away. And then on the other side, yes, it's definitely more appealing and way more understandable for new players, which is also a benefit of its own, right? So I'm not sure. I don't really have a strong opinion on that. However, in terms of allies, I think that's something that's really improved. I started in the dreaded 7th edition, and when I was coming back into the hobby after like a 15-year hiatus since being a kid, so I was definitely way more lore oriented than like actual gameplay. When I saw the allies chart, that made no sense whatsoever. Like
Allies of
our
convenience and
Necrons, yeah, and
Mhm.
the Flyrants with the Imperial Guard demon summoning bull crap.
Yeah.
What the hell was that? Fortunately, that improved in 8th and ever since. And I think now it's in a really good spot. Probably because of the fact that the allies you can take in some armies are themselves not very strong. So you can't just cherry pick an absurdly broken data sheet and just spam it into your whatever faction you're wielding to, like raise your chances or whatnot.
Hmm.
So that I think is done. I really like the way it's done now.
Okay. All right. As for myself, with the power levels, I think the simplification is good and bad at the same time. I really don't understand why they insist on having all the weapons having the same cost, which makes a bolter marine cost the same as a melta marine and as a plasma marine, for example. I also don't know because, again, as a Death Guard player, I see this interesting thing where they really simplified how you look at Death Guard, like heavy weapons or plague weapons, because before you used to have like a cleaver, you used to have a flail, and then you had like uh, knives and so on. Now the weapons are just heavy plague weapon or bubotic weapon, and that's it. And like even when you speak to Death Guard players themselves, none of them knows exactly like which is which. So is the cleaver and the flail the heavy plague weapon when it comes to modeling? Or which one is the bubotic weapon? Like do plague marines have bubotic weapons or only terminators have bubotic weapons? So it's weird. And then furthermore, I don't really understand why Death Guard are the only guys who have um a power fist, which is now regarded a heavy plague weapon and is weapon skill 4. And no other power fist using model has a weapon skill of 4. What the fuck? But okay, that's me. I
I actually
understand that they wanted
like
to
the
make it simple.
I like the fact that they are changing the weapon options into what's in the box, and that they're like bringing in line all the various, I don't know, powers, swords, maces, axes, and whatever. I mean, that was also something you might think this is the room to like you can come up with something to counter the meta, whatever, whatever. It was just a huge pain in the ass from a WYSIWYG perspective. I mean, nowadays you can like print Broly bits quite easily, at least for stuff like Marines. But there's still like either magnetizing, buying whole sets of models that you don't actually need to have that many, etc., etc. So that thing I'm really fond of and looking forward to have more of it.
Hmm.
It's one of the reasons I actually really like demons as one of my first armies, because there wasn't any like magnetizing or the crap to do. You just have a bloodletter with a freaking sword. That's it.
Hmm.
And I really like that. And I didn't touch upon power levels. So power levels are actually now incorporated in points, which is what you guys talked about. And I don't know why they were created in the first place. So quite happy they're gone.
Hmm.
Then again, couldn't really be more bothered because never used them.
Okay. Yeah.
I think there was this annoying point in either 8th or 9th where you have to take it into account when declaring deep strikes or reserves,
Correct.
and the only points. So that
Yeah. Like
only made it. more difficult,
More
more
difficult and more
complicated.
complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely agree. The last bit that I didn't speak about are allies, and again, I agree with you, Joker, wholeheartedly that it's the best plays that allies have ever been ever since I started playing the game. The only problem I see with allies, but this probably has been a thing forever, is that I am really afraid that bringing allies will obscure the fact that some armies are not good without them. Uh, Again, I'll use Death Guard as an example. You bring Nurglings to do missions. You bring whatever else, brigands for your anti-vehicle firepower, um, and you mix and match. You build an army like that. It still appears as Death Guard. If someone is successful with a list like that, it is highly possible that Death Guard will get hit one way or another in the balancing data slate. And I'm afraid that looking at GW and how they acted in the past, they are not very good at reading data. So I'm afraid that some armies that use allies will get hit, but it won't be hitting them in the right way. So that's what I'm afraid about. But this is allies in general, and this used to be the fact in the previous editions as well. So I don't think there is a lot that can be done about that.
I've got like an opposite fear
Mm.
that like Nurglings, Blue Scribes, the Changeling are gonna get hit with a points hike again because they're used in the other Chaos factions. Those demons are just shit and will still be shit.
Yeah, it is possible that that will happen. I just hope that brigands get hit because
I don't. Why you do this?
so much trauma, so
I,
much.
I'm really curious about you guys and what are your favorite armies? Yeah, because you
Yeah, yeah,
you aren't giving any hints to our
not at all.
listeners.
Not at all. But yeah, but I would like to see proper anti-vehicle weaponry for the Death Guard so that they don't have to resort to using brigands, for example. And I also hope that someone corrects the Nurglings and allows them to go through walls, because the fact that they cannot go through walls is just stupid. But that's just me. Anyway, we
Oh,
have to
it's
move on.
not just you. Everyone, just everyone plays it like they can go through the
Yeah,
walls,
yeah. But
and
then
then you suddenly realize, and then
you play that one opponent who remembers, and he goes like, you cannot do that. Hi, Stefan from
not this
Team
time.
Austria. Anyway, guys, how would you rate those things? Oh, before we go to the rating, what do you think about the app, Majson? Are you using the
Uh,
app, or is it Balu
yeah,
Scribe,
yeah.
Excel,
I think
Hapidia?
the app was like a really good thing for 10th edition. I missed something like that in 9th edition. What I do miss actually is getting access to all the rules, including the codex one, in some kind of subscription form. Because right now the stuff, the app, I would rate the app and the idea like 9 points on 10 scale at the beginning when I do have the access on all rules, and right now it's like going to 8. And when more and more codexes will be released, it will go lower because I will still need some kind of supplementary stuff because I'm not going to buy all the codexes in paper form. But if only they could include all the rules in some kind of subscription form, I wouldn't mind paying for that. Because then I have like convenient app to use everywhere, and I would be happy to use that. Nevertheless, for my armies, I tend to use the app for simplicity, for list building. It's kind of convenient for that. And basically, this is the only tool I need for that. Maybe
Hmm.
Excel file is okay for like comparing different builds, but in the end, the final build goes into the app, share, export, or stuff,
Hmm.
copy
Okay.
paste, and that's all.
All right. Joker.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, they had an app in ninth, and it went downhill from there. So that's
Yep.
kind of the fear I have now for the new app. And turns out it was a good decision to just kill the old one and have a new one done. From scratch, I think it's actually surprisingly really good. I think there's not been many bugs, if any. The data was actually up to date and is updated when data slates or whatnot is kicking in, so that's wonderful. But yeah, just like Majson said, I'd also like to have like some sort of a subscription model to actually have access to all of the rules in the app without necessarily buying all the books. Like I don't know, and it could be something like the Necron Codex released mid-December, for example.
Hmm.
The rules in the app for subscribers will appear in February or whatever. That would be okay. I could live with that actually, and I'd still probably subscribe just to have all of that stuff in one place. But I really like it. I think it's elegant. It's done really well. I just didn't create enough army lists before they changed the model, so I'll probably have to subscribe for a month, spam Battleforge for every army, and then just kill it.
Yeah, so
Have all my
how
army
to
lists and
bypass
options.
the
Yeah,
system. Yeah,
yeah.
I
Well,
agree.
we're
Hmm.
Polish.
Yeah, we have to do
You
it.
gotta
Uh,
manage. You gotta be
I
cheap.
agree. I agree with everything that you said. One thing that bothers me about the app is the format of the lists that it spits out, and that is something that I would like GW to maybe improve if there is a possibility, because I would like the lists to be as short as possible. I think when I reviewed the file for the lists at the WTC, where the format was whatever the app spits out, there were lists that were like 10 pages long. That's insane. I use the 40k roster formatter website for like the old style WTC rosters, and they are a couple of lines of text, and that does the job. You have the points, you have the everything. I don't see why we have to have 10 pages of data. Um, so that is something that I would probably work on and improve. Other than that, the app is mint. I love it. So good job, GDubs. How would you rate all this? So again, just to remind you and our listeners, we have power levels, army building, allies, application.
So, in my opinion, it's like, let's say it, 8.
Hmm.
It would be 9 with the room for improvement, but I really don't like power levels. So that's the only thing I miss. There are some like little flaws that can be improved, like allies balance and stuff, and your concerns about balancing approach for GW. And the app is going down, like down in points in with more codexes release. That's my opinion. So that's 8.
Okay, fair. Joker.
Yeah, I'm also gonna go for an 8 because of what you've just mentioned with the list export from the app, and then the fact that yeah, you have very little room in terms of army building now for points, and I have a list that caps at 1980, and it's killing me.
Yeah.
What the hell?
The same goes for, I think, the most popular like world leader lists that we've heard so many times, that caps at 1975, or sorry, 1975 points. And if you want to tweak and bring it to 2000, you have to modify half of the list basically. So
You
yeah, that's bothersome.
it just makes people anxious about
Yeah.
love missing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, exactly.
I'm,
All the people with OCD in the community are furious about
yeah,
that.
like 90% of people here,
Yeah,
Yeah, understandably.
absolutely. I will give
including
it.
myself, of course.
I will give it an 8 as well for sorry, all the
Yeah,
reasons that we mentioned.
yeah, regarding the app, also I do have a comparison with Age of Sigmar app, and I
Mhm.
find Age of Sigmar app like slightly better because you
Okay.
can actually make all the lists without having the codexes. You don't have the
Mm.
access to rules from like datasheets there or word scrolls or whatever they're called, but you can actually make a list without having a codex. So
Mm.
that's also an idea for GW to implement in 40k as well. Maybe.
Yeah, it's interesting that it just feels like two different companies are making two different games at times, which
Yes,
yeah,
sometimes,
yeah.
but
So
sometimes they also steal from each other the ideas and stuff. So
true. If only they stole the best ones and forgot about the stupid ones, that would be a perfect world. Thank you, Caillou, for that comment, and also happy New Year to you as well, and to everyone who is with us and listening, and also the people who are not with us but will be listening later on. Let's move on because time is running and a lot of topics still. So, core rules now. And the designer's commentary. So, core rules is a broad topic, so I broke it down into a bunch. Let's start with the so-called USRs, or the Universal Standard Rules. I think that's how it abbreviates. And I'm talking, of course, about all the keywords like lethal hits, sustained, devastating wounds, and so on and so on. So this sort of standardization of rules, so that every army has the same rule or uses the same rules. Majson, what do you think about this?
yeah, so well, it's the idea that used to be in this game, and I don't have any idea why they remove that from the game, because this is like a standard thing for every game to have some kind of universal standard rules. It's so helpful, and it's so stupid for that. For two editions we had like different names for the same thing and different things, like different data sheets and different units. It was so confusing for new players. It was so unnecessary. It was like the only function for that to me was to have something like fluff implemented into a datasheet, but that's not what a player expects. So implementation of universal standard rules here was really really good, and I'm happy that they're back and that now everything seems to be like more or less clear within the same interactions. Uh, when talking about balancing some stuff and stupid ideas inside universal standard rules, we can talk like a lot about devastating wounds and their implementation at the start. It was like, but yeah, it was like the worst thing they have done. But that's the different case. It's not the idea about the idea of universal standard rules, but the implementation of one specific rule that basically broke the balance of the game for a couple of months. But fortunately, we are already moved on from that stupid idea, and now we are happy. At least I'm happy with what we have now.
Joker.
Yeah, so I thought that we're not talking about the USRs specifically, but just the fact that they exist, and I think that is very good because, well, essentially, it really does simplify. You already had like 10 different names for Feel No Pains. Everyone called it Feel No Pain in ninth, or a
Hmm.
shrug, or whatever. The thing that you call lethal hits, sustained hits, that's also been introduced into more armies across ninth. And the same for dev wounds. I'm not really a fan of neither the lethal hits nor the dev wounds, nor necessarily sustained. But that's a whole other story. No psychic wait, am I going too far with this?
Yes, you are.
Ah,
We are
okay.
still
Well,
discussing USRs in general.
so that in general, it's great.
Okay. I agree that it's great. I disagree with some choices that they have made for the rules. I think that the introduction of devastating rules was completely unnecessary. I think the mortal wounds were doing the good job, and they could have been the devastating wounds. And the devastating wounds is something that makes me really annoyed, to be perfectly honest. I feel like this is an ability or like a special rule that maybe only characters should have, or something like really special. And definitely, I hate the fact that it's possible that you have a 3 damage weapon that turns into 3 dev wounds. Like, to me, it should be either normal damage, normal 3 damage, or 1 dev wound or something like that, because it's just way too powerful. Like, we will get to the balance topic in a moment or in a few moments, but I just dislike dev wounds, for example.
Yeah, I just have a comparison with the thing how they worked originally, and the original idea was so stupid with like Great Knight sniping 20-man neophyte squad, so just by rolling like 6 6s on the wind wall, and
Hmm.
now suddenly like 80 models disappear from table.
Yeah.
But
But
Yeah,
okay, in
100%.
general,
yeah,
it seems fine. So, what would your rating for the USR concept be, Majson? Starting with you.
so USR concept is like 10 points.
Okay,
No,
so 10 out of 10.
yeah.
Good. Joker.
Yep, same. The concept, 10 out of 10.
Hmm.
Well
Okay.
done.
For the concept, I would give it a 10. For the execution, 9, just because some of those choices are weird to say the least. Uh, right. Uh, Next thing from the core rulebook, if you look at it, no psychic phase. They removed it. The reasoning was that it generated some feels bad for players, as far as I know, as far as I understood it. Like Tau players not having a psychic phase had to wait until the player who has the psychic phase does all his magic and so on and so on. And apparently that was the reason why they removed it. Myson, what do you think about this move?
So the reason is completely wrong, but to be honest, because this is not like a simultaneous activation game and alternating activation game that you can care that one player plays one phase more than the other one. To be honest, the thing is, I like the implementation, how it worked, but I don't like the psychic rules at all, because they used to be psychic powers. What they could have easily done is just moving everything to a common phase as common phase abilities, and just keep psychic powers as a choice from a list, like they used to work, because I didn't find anything wrong with that. Now they are just straight flat out abilities that are just boring, in my opinion,
Mm,
because they don't have anything special as a psychic rules than the normal standard rules. So that's my opinion.
mm-hmm. Joker.
Again, I agree. At first, I was really disappointed with the lack of the psychic phase, and like Myson said, like that's not an argument. I mean, come on, I'm playing Thousand Suns. I have a psychic phase, but I don't have a fight phase, for example, right? I mean, or I'm playing, I don't know, a demons, and I have literally no shooting. So, like, that's you're not really making a point here. But anyhow, uh, I actually am happy that now like the output or the abilities of my army don't necessarily depend on rolling something on a 2d6,
Mm-hmm.
or at least not as much. That's actually an upside. But yeah, like Myson said, psychic powers are very much flattered now. If at all, it's mostly just ranged attacks, which is fairly boring, and it does still feel like being a psyker is actually like a bad thing,
Something
because it
negative,
just
yeah.
gives a number of armies a situational 4-up feel no pain against your attacks.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's no upside to being a psyker
To the
or
psychic
whatever.
keyword,
There's only
yeah.
potential downsides. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed.
yeah.
Absolutely the same. It's the execution is simply boring. Simply, it's you roll a 2-up for something, or you even don't, and then most of them are just another shooting attack, which flattens it a little bit, kills the fluffy aspect of it. I don't know. I'm on the fence. So your rating, Myson.
Yeah, I would say 3 points for that.
Okay,
Because
harsh.
yeah, because I, it's not the one or two, because I like the idea that they move them like to common phase, and the phase is, but the implementation of psychic is flat out boring.
Hmm. Okay.
Why it's even called psychic right now, I don't know, because you can
Yeah, the
call it
keyword doesn't do
whatever.
anything. So
Yes. Like,
Joker.
Yeah, actually, now that Majson have said, they could have just moved it into the command phase, like in Sigma, where you cast spells in the hero phase. I think it's called there, because it has to be different for
yes.
some reason. A 2 from me.
hmm I'll also give it a 2, just because there are so many better ways that this could have been done. They have their own examples in different systems that they simply refuse to follow, like in many other cases as well. Uh, yeah, they just flat out 2,
Just
because
overdone. Just overdone.
or overdone but undercooked.
Yeah.
Right, moving on. So we have Battle Shock as a mechanic. Joker, let's start with you for a change. So how do you view this? I know you use an army that has some interaction with the Battle Shock. So how do you enjoy it? Is it a good thing, bad thing, ignorable?
Um, when they first showed it off, etc., I was pretty much convinced. Okay, here we go again. We're still having leadership. We're still having morale. It's still insignificant. I actually like how it's done now. I wouldn't say it's insignificant, and but although I must say this is after they changed the stratagem for ignoring Bioshock effect to once per game and before the roll, because previously it was just like, again, what's the point? Why do we go through this leadership thing? It's non-existent in the actual game. I really like it now. I think it's done quite well. The additional fact that you like, it actually has an effect, not that you might be losing models, but your unit is actually hindered, right? You can't use stratagems on it. It loses the OC stat. I really like it. It
Okay,
could
sorry.
it
Okay.
could have be more. It could go into effect a bit more often, because some armies are still just, their stat lines essentially ignore it, because you've got
hmm
a leadership of 5 or 6. So unless there's some modifiers or whatnot, and then you also have to be below half strength. So some units almost never go into the
Become
risk
Battle
of being
Shocked. Yeah.
battle shocked. So if it could just be a little bit tweaked, I think it would be really, really good.
hmm My son.
So what is Battleshock even? Okay.
So really, it doesn't come up in games for you.
What the thing is with Battleshock, that the idea is quite good, but still the practical use of Battleshock rules and stuff is kind of limited. What I like about it, and what impacts the game the most, I think, is that you aren't allowed to use stratagems on the things that are Battleshocked, and that's like the thing that impacts the game the most. On the other hand, what I don't like about it is like it's a binary something that decides am I going to score 5 points from primary or not? And straight up, it depends on a single roll, and that's kind of disappointing because it's boring, it's flat, and you can't really predict it. I guess.
hmm
Uh, there were a couple of games that I just lost like 3 big points in WTC scoring just because I haven't passed any of my Battleshock tests, and it didn't matter afterwards because I
hmm
didn't want to use it like uh, any stratagems on that units, but because they were scoring units. That's why right now I find that there's much room for improvement in entire Battleshock mechanic. I like it better than it used to be, like leadership mechanic, not the uh, like in 8th edition. So you just roll dice and remove a couple of models. I think but on the other hand, I think the implementation from the previous edition was kind of more interesting. Because right now for example, if a single model is left on the from the 20-man squad, you can use this model for a move block, and you don't risk anything. Like it's failing its leadership test and just running away. You don't risk anything. You just flat out tell how many models can I kill and stuff. You don't risk anything using such small units. Well, it's kind of good because you can predict something, but it's when you're, my opinion is like when your unit is like down to a couple of models, there need to be some kind of risk involved in that, and I would prefer that risk than flat out. If I pass the test, I score primary. If not, I'm not. So that's my opinion.
Yeah. And again, as a Tyranid player, I like the idea of Battle Shock. I like the idea of even making like the entire army rule circle around Battle Shock. It's just that Battle Shock doesn't do enough, in my eyes. Like, first of all, as you said, leadership characteristics are a little bit too high in the game. So sometimes it's difficult to, like, if you use Shadow in the Warp, there will be turns where your opponent just rolls high and there are no battle shocks, even if you bring a newer tyrant with you. And it feels bad for the Tyranid player because you've just used your one time only ability that did absolutely nothing. But there will be games where it does something. I think that the stratagem should go. Like, the stratagem to pass leadership just shouldn't be in the game. If you introduce something like battle shocks, then to me the stratagem is pointless. And also, I think the effect of battle shock is not enough. Like, the fact that you lose OC, great. The fact that you cannot do actions, great. But I feel like if the unit is battle shocked, it should be like, I remember, I think it was Dawn of War 2, the computer game, where a unit could become suppressed or something like that. So it was like pinned to the ground, couldn't do anything. And I feel like this would be something that I would like to see. If something fails the battle shock test, it cannot shoot, it cannot, or like it has its movement halved or something like that. It cannot get into a transport. That would open up interesting tactical play. With what we have right now, it's just not impactful enough. So to me, especially as a Tyranid player, I don't feel enough payoff for investing in a Neuro Tyrant and then using this ability because it's simply too unreliable. So that's my 2 pence on it. What's your rating, guys? Majson?
So I would say 5 for Battle Shock,
Mm-hmm.
because right now it seems like it's something different than it used to be, but there's room for improvement. The final implementation, I think, is not there yet.
Okay. Joker?
Can I give it a 7.5? Or are we not doing halfsies?
We can. I think Excel can handle. By the way, for everyone who is listening and watching, in the background I have an Excel file that I will count an average from, and we can see what the final rating is. But 7.5 does work. Although my Excel file now shows 7th of May for some reason, but luckily you cannot see that. So 7.5 it is. For me, it will be a 4 because of all the reasons that I mentioned. It feels like a great idea, but underdeveloped, and I would like to see it improved, maybe be a little bit more impactful to actually affect the game in a proper way. Right, moving on. We have in the previous edition we had the stratagem bloat, so we had like 4 pages in a codex or even more of stratagems. Now we have 6 per detachment, so 6 detachments, 6 stratagems plus the core book stratagems. Is that too much? Is that too little? Is that just fine? Majson, what do you think?
So I don't think it's too much or too less like options with stratagems. I really like this general ones. Rapid Ingress, for example, is one of my favorite one. I was like a little bit skeptical about that, but right now the entire reserve mechanic is changed, and actually it moves the game on a different depth level. What I actually don't like is that, in fact, soon we'll get into more stratagems in total, in the entire game, I think, because with every detachment we come with like 6 options. So 24 per codex. 24,
36, I think.
36. No,
Yes. Well,
but
at least Marines had 6 detachments, right?
the problem with that is not that you can't remember all of the stuff, because at the given game you need to like remember about 6 plus universal stratagems, but from your opponent and from the army. The problem that is started to show with, I guess, Necron's Codex, that some of the stratagems are just straight up copy paste from the other detachments.
Yep.
And that's something that bothers me, because in the end, if we continue with such a dynamic, there will be a lot of like the same detachments with mixture of every possible stratagems with different armies, and there will be like a huge bloat. Not in terms that you need to remember the stuff, but in terms that the rules, the stratagems could be moved into universal standard stratagems or something like that. And that's thing that can get the game in some strange state that I'm a little bit worried about. Of course, there's limited like potential of ideas that you can have for stratagems, but like copy pasting it's good that they keep the standard, so you don't have like better stratagem than the other army, but wrong in terms of like copy pasting and being interesting. Yeah, that's.
Mm-hmm. I agree on the core ones. I agree. I like the ones in the book, apart from the past leadership immediately sort of one. I like the general ones that are available to all or to the majority of the factions, and I speak specifically about Tyranids that don't have tank shock or grenades, unless you're playing Crusher Stampede, then you get something like tank shock. But again, I don't know if that is an omission or done on purpose, but there will be armies that don't have access to all of the core ones. Still, the great majority of them do. I find them okay. I am very happy that they corrected or improved Overwatch, because it was a bit abusive at times. So I think after the balanced data slate, it's much better. Rapid Ingress is a very interesting addition to the game, and I'm very happy that it's there. Joker, any thoughts?
Well, I pretty much agree with you guys. I mean, I can see where Majson's fear is coming from, but I don't think it's become apparent yet. So fingers crossed it never does. I'm also not entirely sold on Overwatch, even after the data slate change, because I think there's still a lot of rules to interact with it. Like your lethal hits, your sustained hits, some hit rerolls. You kinda, in some cases, get a free turn of shooting in your opponent's turn, which is like I don't know. And yeah, so I think maybe the range in the movement phase is a bit too much or something. I'm not sure. Haven't put that much thought into it, and I'm not exactly happy with the way they've changed the heroic intervention.
Oh, I like it. The fact that you have to roll and so on. It's like a charge almost. I
The
think it's
fact that you have to
interesting.
roll, I'm fine with. It's just that it's 2 CP, and then within 6, it just really comes into effect, I think. And that was something that you could really like utilize in the gameplay, threaten with a heroic intervention or something. That was quite interesting in ninth, and now it's kind of gone away.
Hmm.
So
Maybe they should. Maybe they just should like put this to 1 CP to get it more use, because right now you wouldn't risk rolling like 3 or 4 on charge. But let's keep
yeah,
this discussion for the charge of fight phase maybe.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So, listen, guys. Because I had it, as you know, I had it as two separate points. I just uh, like put everything in one point to make the discussion a little bit faster. So, limited amount of stratagems, new stratagems like Ingress, Epic Challenge, and old stratagems reworked. All this is 1 point now. So, how would you rate it, Majson?
So new stratagems, all of the stuff I will rate at 7.
All the stuff together. Okay, as a 7. All right, Joker.
So, stratagems, amounts, what kind of the common ones are? I'm giving it a 9.
Wow. Okay. I would probably be somewhere between 7 and 8, just because, as I said, some of them don't need to be there. Some of them are not accessible to all the armies. I just feel like this could use some tweaking, but the general direction is good. And the fact that we have 6 stratagems per detachment, it's easy for your opponent to memorize after a couple of games. You don't have to worry about 4 pages of stratagems and something unexpected happening. So it's simply more user friendly. I will go with an 8 for this one. And we quickly jump into the next topic. Whoever wants to pick this up. So terrain, terrain that has changed a little bit. So there is no movement decreasing terrain like forests. There are no vents. Everything basically just grants you cover, I guess, and that is it. But maybe this is just because we're playing WTC. Maybe in other systems it's different. What's your guys? Sorry, what's yours? Your experience about this?
So I do have experience from UKTC and WTC, and basically both systems just right now are straight up ruins, ruins, ruins everywhere,
City fights.
and more ruins.
Yeah.
By the rules writing, I don't find any use for forest and vents. It used to be like better in 9th edition. I like the footprints of ruins, to be honest, but it's hard to measure this objectively because you need to like assess it by the terms of WTC, because we are all used to like play WTC rules. I don't know, to be honest, how it will implement practically into like fluff games, like non-competitive games. So I don't have an opinion on that. Competitively, when we like tested before the actual implementation of WTC, the new rule sets were really awful with the terrain, but the WTC managed to invent some kind of terrain setups that actually makes the game interesting. So the current map design for WTC uses really well this basic rule set for ruins, basically. They might sometimes look a little bit weird, like the big L's in some of the WTC maps, because on table it looks really weird. That you have like two ruins
touching each other,
and what the hell is that? But on the other hand, design from a competitive perspective is really, really good. You get a staging places, you have place to hide. I have no problem with like playing hiding on this map, having like access paths to like staging rules. That's okay, I think. There are minor issues related, like how do you approach close combat and melee, but well, that's just like the entire different topic. And actually, WTC terrain setup allowed to use some kind of combat armies. Maybe there's the balance is like more shooting favor still, but WTC terrain setup especially made combat possible, like the CSM list that utilizes a lot of like things that you can get from the table. So that's yeah. But to
Okay.
be honest, I miss variety. I like terrain variety. It will add some more depth into the game, I think, but it will be really hard to implement it so that it actually matters. I don't even know the forest rules from the core rules right now, so
Hmm.
maybe I will check this in the meantime
Okay.
when Joker is talking.
Joker, go ahead then.
Yeah, so you check that and tell us because I don't know either. But yeah, I mean, I have to agree, right? The rules incentivize you to just use ruins because that's like the only terrain piece that matters, which is fine in a way that, well, it's a game and you want the game to be balanced, and ruins allow you to do just that, right? It's a good terrain piece for how you want the game to be played, and avoid feels bad and the situation that whoever goes first just blows the opponent off the table, right? But I do miss forests and vents, etc. It really added a little bit of depth into the game, especially in team setting where it just made the table choice perhaps a bit more important than just the layout of the runes now, which is the only difference that you have.
Mm.
So yeah, I definitely like to have a bit more variety in terms of terrain. But yeah, that's it. I mean, from a game mechanic perspective, what we have is not bad, quite
Hmm.
good. But yeah, just lacks a bit of variety.
Yep. Totally agreed. Like I just opened the rule book to have a look at the terrain that is there in the rules. We have ruins, we have woods, we have hills, industrial structures, debris, statues, and so on and so on. You just never see that in the competitive context because they are impractical. And I think what the competitive context seeks is always something that is practical, something that speeds up the game and not slows it down. So if GW can invent something that is actually both practical and looks nice, that would be very welcome. I also agree with the fact that it did add a little bit of depth because when we had it in ninth, at least for some factions, it created room for some extra faction rules that you at least felt that your faction has a benefit. Like again, Death Guard had this slow and purposeful thing, I think, where they didn't get the punishment for getting into the forests and so on. And you did feel that your army has this and is better in that way than any other army. So again, that would be something that I would like to see in the game. But I understand that the aspect of practicality is above everything else, and I accept that. So yeah, how would you rate this one, Majson?
So terrains right now, I would say, but all that's the only from WTC perspective right now, including maps and things. I would say it 8. I miss variety
Hmm.
and miss like there's always room for improvement. So I'll just leave a point for that, and a point from minus point for the lack of variety.
So what's the final score then?
8. Yeah,
8. Okay,
8.
Joker.
7.
7. Okay. And I will go with, I guess, a 6 because again we don't have enough time to discuss this thoroughly, but we are focusing on the WTC terrain system because that's what we play in Europe. But if we wanted to go and analyze like GW terrain setups, layouts, and so on, there is a lot of imperfection there. So on GW side, I think there is still a lot of work to do to design better terrain layouts. On all the other like UKTC, WTC side, I think this is a saving grace for the terrain topic. So uh, just because it's a GW's game and they should be inventing proper terrain and terrain layouts, I give it a 6. I'm cutting out some of the things that I think we can skip because they are not very relevant to this discussion. So the next one will be fly keyword and how they treated it. Joker, how do you feel about fly? Is it in a good place? Do you miss fly from the previous edition? Knowing how your demons worked, for example, what do you think?
Well, I think I can certainly say I miss Fly playing Monster Mash kind of lists, at least in the beginning of the edition. Maneuvering some of the models has been a complete pain. Um, but generally, this is a tough one because Fly in the previous edition was just so good. It really could make or break a unit because of how it could move around the table, and we all know movement is very, very important. So all in all, I actually think this is a good change, even if when you're might be playing for the first time, you might think, "Wait, this makes no sense. Why
Hmm.
can't my jet bike just fly over this freaking building?" Well, because it can't. It's good for the game.
Hmm.
Suck on it.
Okay, my son.
I it was like I must admit it was a really weird feeling playing Harlequins in 10th edition after because I first played it like in September, so 3 months after the release of the edition. It was so weird to move the Harlequin boat around the ruin. So weird feeling.
Hmm. But is it
But
something that you grew
yeah,
accustomed to,
I
or?
think that yeah, of course, because we need to, so
Hmm.
we do. We do what we need to do. Uh, Basically, I like the change because, as Joker said, it was straight up broken keyword last time because basically uh, the difference between Rhino and the Harlequin boat was enormous.
Yeah.
So one can need to go around the ruin, the other one just okay. I'm pick a place on the table. We'll be there maximum two into turns. So
Yeah,
come on.
to the point where you
Uh,
didn't see the former, like rhinos didn't see play, or vehicles in
yeah,
general, apart from the flying ones, didn't
yeah.
really see play in ninth.
Uh, I'm. I mean, it's still okay that you can move over the models and stuff, but I don't have the also the impression that we pay additional points for flying. So I guess it's good for the game right now.
Hmm.
How they implement flyers and planes, I think it's a really hard topic because they used to they used to broke planes flyers every edition basically. So
Hmm.
there was a point in every edition that some kind of flyer spam was broken. So they cut this down ninth edition to just not have any planes on the table. And right now, we still in 10th, we still have it. But they're starting to change because the flyers were not on the table at all. And right now,
Hmm.
flyers like Necron, like transport night side,
I'd say.
it's
Hmm.
called. Yeah, can arrive turn one. So I'm a little bit worried that we'll reach the point that in competition that we'll still get some kind of flyer spam. But we'll see. For now, I would say it's good that they kept that because no one wants to play old Admech, ninth edition Admech. Yeah, anymore.
Yeah,
So
you never see any sisters flyers about.
Yeah, what's up with that, right?
Hmm. Um, true that. Anyway, I I agree that it's good because the change to fly is good because it brings balance, a little bit more balance to the game, especially with such armies like Eldar, Dark Eldar, or Harlequins, as you said, that go fast and hit hard. Uh, but on the other hand, I am not sure if applying the change across the entire game um, should be done like that. Again, looking at all the monsters, if there is an army that doesn't have like double move shenanigans, like Thousand Suns, for example, moving monsters around, especially when you have to pivot them, is just a pain in the butt. And it's again, if GW wanted to avoid feels bad or feel bad moments, I feel bad moments all the time when I play Mortarion. And I just refuse to play him because he's clunky, he's huge, he is easy to see, difficult to hide, the same thing, and definitely difficult to move with his movement 10. So maybe monsters should have a little bit different fly rules or something like that to make them more viable. I don't know, but I'm not like 100% on board with this one. What's your rating for this, guys? The change to fly, Majson.
I would say like 8 right now.
Mm-hmm. Joker.
Um, I'm gonna give it a 7.
Okay.
Yeah, let's give it a 7.
I'll give it a 7 as well, just because I find that there is balance between the really fast armies that fly and the other ones, and it's overall good for the game. But I would like someone to have a look at that when it comes to monsters, so I'm gonna give it a 7 as well. And we move on to the last of the core rules that I think are like relevant changes, and we will see whether improvements: charge and fight phase. So at the beginning of 10th, many people said that fight phase is non-existent almost. Now I think people have learned how to use certain interactions, etc., etc. Let's hear the pro tell us how he feels about the way we charge now and the way we fight now.
Yeah, just leave me here for like 4 hours. Yeah.
You have 5 minutes
I
tops.
have a lot to say. Come on, come on. What the hell is wrong with the charge phase? I mean, basically everything. I mean,
So bad.
what? No, it's not actually bad. It's so stupid. It's not like rule wise. What they did to the charge phase is something that like the worst thing they could have done in entire game. I haven't seen such a bullshit mechanics in any of war games I have tried or I am playing. Like the change from something being like a tactical, having tactical depth, some things that you can need to maneuver to block basically everything, and they say they need to simplify it and to block some of the tricks. They invented a rules that actually didn't simplify it. They didn't discard any of the tricks, but made the entire thing so stupid. It's so
So what's the main thing that
so
hurts you about it?
ambiguous.
What
I mean,
thing is actually gone that you enjoyed in the previous edition?
the thing, the problem is right now with that you need to base the rules, the models.
Hmm.
It's you don't have a freedom of movement in your charge phase that you used to have, and right now you are allowed to do any tricks of the that you used to have in 9th edition, only if you like block your own models with your own of your models um, in some kind in some way. Uh, so basically, you sometimes, and this is especially true if you play sisters. Sometimes sister player will pick a lower charge roll lower miracle dice for charge roll just to not roll high charge.
Hmm.
You actually sometimes want to reroll like 12 in charge just to get the 2 because that's the all things that give you the most freedom to do.
Hmm.
Like, I
Yeah,
mean, what the hell is that?
it's weird.
It's it's not that it's bad or something like that. It's completely weird to do this stuff on the table. And when you think from a competitive mindset, if you think how to optimize it, it's still doable. All of the tricks are still there, but you need to do some really stupid things on the table, and that's I couldn't complain more about this, and I really don't like it right now. I remember my first charge this edition when I tried to charge 20 neophytes into something, and it was like, what the hell? I just need to basically move all of my models. First of
Yeah.
all, I need to move like only one model to the front to get a low risk charge, and all of the other models are going completely different direction, just to give me freedom of movement later on in pilings, consolidation, and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, consolidation move is fine, but pilings are fine. But the charge, come on, what the hell?
Joker, do you share the sentiment?
Yeah, I'm probably still playing it wrong, So
Yeah, that's the thing. We are like half a year, into the edition, and a lot of players, including competitive players, including sometimes myself, are lost in a charge phase
Mm-hmm.
or fight phase because someone invents the other implementation, like interpretation of the rule. I
Yeah.
always need to check it because what the fuck.
Yeah, I mean the sheer fact that people come up with those solutions, like I'm gonna block my own movement with models to gain advantage somehow, and then a too high of a roll for charge actually gets you off the objective, for example, or something. And if you don't kill the entire unit that you were aiming at, you are off the objective and you cannot score properly. It's just yeah, it could use a little bit tweaking. I agree. Right. Uh, we will talk about like the balance and so on in a sec. So let's leave this right now. Let's skip the talking about the fight phase because this will also fall under the balance bit, I guess. How do you rate the charge phase?
-20.
I didn't know we could do minuses, but I will write it down as a -20. All right, Joker.
I'll give it 0 then. I mean,
Okay.
I feel like that change was completely unnecessary.
Okay. I'll actually give it a 5, just because contrary to what the majority of competitive players think about it, I think again for the new players, it is more welcoming, it is simpler, it's what it says on the box for the majority of people. Just base your targets, and for people who don't get into all the intricacies and or did never got into those intricacies of like piling into sorry, into a unit that has already been killed or something like that and move again and stuff like that. People who didn't get that ever, for them I think this design is better. uh but I agree with the competitive players that a lot of skill expression was in the fight phase or charge phase and positioning, and now it's gone. So uh again, I'm going to be half positive, half negative, because I also think about the new players. The two, I think, most important topics of this, or two important things that I want to touch upon, are missions and balance. So let's start with the missions, and let's connect the primary and the secondary. The design of missions, is it in a good place, in a bad place? Cards over set objectives like we had in the past. What do you think about that, Joker? This time, let's go with you first.
I really like the change, mainly in terms of the primary mission, because ninth was definitely stale at the very end. It was just so repetitive. I mean, whatever you were playing was like, take one, take two, take more, or in one odd scenario was hold two, hold three, hold more. So that was very much repetitive, and I think I didn't play a lot of games at the end of ninth because of that, or at least one of the reasons. Secondaries, I'm not so much so, or initially I really wasn't sold on cards. I hated them back at the beginning of eighth, for example. But by the end of eighth, when you could
Do
modify your
mulligans
deck,
and
so to speak, it was okay-ish. I'm actually really surprised how it's done now. I mean, I think the missions are quite okay, especially losing the numbered objective ones, because that was, you could just get so bad of a draw and not be able to score anything. I really like those changes. Um, I think you could use a little bit tweak for the fixed ones, because there's your obvious homer, And then there isn't really much that's interesting there, other than a situation where your opponent gives you bring it down and or assassinate. But other than that, I really like the missions.
Hmm. I tend to agree about the majority of what you said. I think it's just funny that we're 6 months into the edition, and already like after 3 or 4 months, you could hear people, including myself, saying that the missions feel a little bit stale, because I guess that is what happens when you play something competitively and you do it all the time, 3, 4, 5 times a week. The missions are just get they repeat themselves. So maybe a refresh in that area would be good. For the primaries, I'm afraid that there are some primary missions that simply shouldn't or don't belong in the competitive setting, and some of them could be done away with, could be replaced with something else. And I would really like, in the era of all that data mining that people are doing, that StatCheck does, that this guy from Reddit does, for Meta Mondays and so on. Whoever analyzes the data, GW should be looking at that, and they should also be analyzing like what missions people choose, what missions tournament organizers choose for their tournaments. If they are skipping some of the missions because they don't like them, they should revamp the deck and refresh it with every balanced data slate. And the same goes for secondaries and so on. If somebody doesn't choose fixed over and over and over, a secondary doesn't get picked regularly, it should just be revamped and the deck should be refreshed. And that's it. Majson, what are your thoughts?
So I will start with a question. Have you ever played like server schools before they change?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I know it's a common complaint in the competitive
I mean,
community.
we don't play this at WTC, and because it's stupid bullshit. But to be honest, I like that they changed what was at the end of ninth edition, because the end of ninth edition was a disaster in terms of scoring. It was flat out boring, and for example, me playing as GSC was okay. I can start the game with was 40 points written to my like score sheets, and we'll see how much you will score. Like world eaters was also stupid, just auto 15s. Right now, what do I think? So the change was needed, and then change is here. What I like is that primary missions differs. What I don't like is that some of them tries to be different, but they are not. For example, just Scorch F and taking hold. Basically, how often do you actually burn the objective, and it actually matters. If you go second, probably
Hmm.
no, because you score at the end of the battle and you meet this objective. So you're going first maybe one time, but if you burn the objective, you won't score it. So, and if you won't score it, you'll probably never finish also the burn action, because the opponent will do something about that, and that's something that there's little difference in these two from game wise perspective, and we play this on the same maps in WTC, so that also gives me impression that there's a problem. On the other hand, there are a couple of combinations that we tried at our Para Cup, for example, something different that actually made the game somehow interesting. There's a primary mission with objective play, player placed objectives. That's, in my opinion, fun to play. So there are still things to explore how they should play. So primaries, I think primaries are basically okay. There's a room for improvement as always, but they're okay. With secondaries, I do have some other problems, because right now there are two approaches: either you risk and go with random, tactical. I would prefer to call them random objectives, not tactical objectives, but Yeah, or fixed. If you have army that is built usually you want to seek for two stable fixed objectives and play with fixed because you don't want this randomness. And regarding the random, in contrary to many players that actually like the tacticals previously. So in eighth edition, the cards and stuff, I was never a big fanboy of doing tacticals cards and stuff like that. There are some tools that can you can affect the randomness. The problem is that there are still games that will be won over having four easy cards into two first rounds, and there will be games that are lost because you had you started the game with behind enemy lines and capture enemy outpost, and you have no means to actually do anything out with that. You can of course use one CP, but you need to use the resource to get assassination turn one. I mean, there are a lot of easy tacticals so in general the average score from tacticals will be high enough to do justify taking that, especially if you have the army that can do it and is designed to do tacticals. On the other hand, this can go really wrong, and you have no means to do anything about that. So I played a game actually that the opponent scored 0 from tacticals, and he was
rough.
on tape, and I haven't even tabled him. Like he had half of his army in his DZ.
That's horrible.
Yeah, and that's so bad luck, and all of this stuff were just not there when I basically blocked him in his DZ with GSC spam and stuff, and he couldn't move outside, so he couldn't score any of the actions and stuff. Even homers were blocked, and he didn't draw investigate signals, if I remember correctly. But after playing 3 turns, he also after playing 3 or 4 turns, he just said to me, "I will not draw any more cards."
I mean, at that point, surely he could have got a card he might have scored, right?
Maybe in the 5th turn. Yeah, but but he was blocked in every possible place. So, yeah, and I see in the comments that for example, bring it down against Tau. So there are some armies that are really punished by having dedicated secondaries. I don't care about that assassination. It's okay. I mean, assassination, taking too many characters, there need to be some kind of penalty for that. I agree. Okay, but the bring it down problem with Tau
requires quite a bit of resource from the opponent to actually get to a character, right? They're not free kills, whereas, as you were about to say,
yeah, yeah. So in general, I like the changes. I would like to see what they do in upcoming chapter approved and how do they approach the balance in the missions. So that's something interesting, basically.
I wonder if they'll
that will define that will define my opinion on that.
Fair enough. I mean, I wonder if they'll do anything with it, because in 9th we had the seasons coming in, but in the second half of the edition, so the last 3 tournament packs, I didn't feel there were any differences, at least for primary, and then secondaries were mainly codex ones, which were either bad or ridiculously good. But yeah, we'll see how that pans out. So do you want to rate it, the missions?
There's one thing. Just a second. I need to.
Yeah, sure.
I need to double check the name. There's like Gambit. There's Gambit
Oh god, we
rules.
didn't even mention the existence of this.
And I totally forgot that it actually exists.
Same, man.
No, I have heard about one particular situation that someone considered that Gambit actually have some play in like 1% chance that if taking Gambit he actually wins the game. But come on, this is so unnecessary. Whoever tries remembers about it. We didn't, and we played this game and engaged a lot, and we didn't remember at the start of this like discussion. So
yeah, I think that speaks for itself. But I mean, there's already enough randomness in the game to and then to add to define a win on a roll of a 12, sometimes improved to a 10 or an 11 at the end of the game. It's
and sometimes
ridiculous.
Sometimes you don't even draw this particular Gambit.
Yeah, exactly. That's another thing. I think it was an interesting idea, but the execution here was.
I mean, I don't like the justification of this idea. It's just no. This is something that's I will not take this into consideration for scoring. Like because that's nobody plays that. So
I keep seeing Scary posting on Facebook when on tournaments that he drew a gambit. The gambit won him the game. I think it's just BS, like for content. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe
I have to reach out to him.
I would say I must admit if I ever win a game with a Gambit, I will just post it in my in all of my social profiles. Just come on. First of all, I need to remember about this rule. Secondly, I need to draw correct card. Thirdly, I need to be insane to just probably I'm playing some kind of singles tournament and with really unfavorable matchup. Just try it, or I will be just drunk and will try some time. If I ever win this again, Gambit in the current implementation, if they change it, I will just straight up post it everywhere.
So what's your score for the missions?
For the missions, I will say right now, for primaries, I would say it's 8. Maybe 7. 7 for primaries. For secondaries, it will be a 5 for us. So in general, I would say it's 6 for more scoring missions, not including Gambit, because Gambit will be like minus 20.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 9 because servo skulls exist. Also, like totally disregarding the existence of the gambits because, well, we forgot. I mean, like you said, that's our verdict on it. Forgetting about it. Tweak will give us his score once he's back. Meanwhile.
One thing, I might be a little bit harsh with this point, but I really think that it's a good progress since what we have in 9th edition. But there is still a lot of to improve, especially on the secondary part. Primary is something that I can live with, but secondaries are just getting boring, and that's the opinion after playing this game for half a year.
Sure, understandable. And we're actually moving to, last but not least, the balance. So, Majson, what do you think of the balance at the beginning of 10th? What do you think about it at the WTC? So when there was the quick fix and then the data slate.
Okay, so who even expected Eldar to be top tier army? It never happened before. Never.
Yeah, never.
First time seeing that. Yeah, so basically at start they failed as always. So basically, they made made an army that had everything they needed to. What I
Tone it down
really,
significantly.
yeah. There were things that there were also issues with GSC and stuff. How they, but I have already mentioned that and all of my concerns on our Facebook on my Monday post. So I don't think, I won't really repeat myself about that. So we arrived in 10th edition in some kind of biased balance because there were elders, GSC, and the rest. So, but it was expected. They made a quick fix. We still had like GSC and GSC and elder as top armies, but the quick fix was there. There were counters for elders. GSC was the counter for GSC. You can also invent the counter. So it was okay. They were doing the job. It's fine. What I see right now is that they're trying their best to balance the game, which I like. I don't, but basically not everything. The work is not done yet. There's still a lot to improve. Like Chaos Demons, where are they? In Chaos Knights
In my
lists,
heart.
yeah, and in your heart,
And on
yeah,
my shelf.
Oh, yeah, on a shelf or deep down in a basement somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometime, like there are a lot of things that needs to be like fixed. Like the approach for some armies I find really disappointing, like AdMech. This is the most recent thing. There are some good builds, but they're trying to do the shooting army with a ballistics build 4-up. Come on, how it's even supposed to work? We already knew that how without the rules to improve ballistic skill or Votan, without the judgment rule, they would be just shit. So why even try to do that? So there are some weird things coming. Also, this tendency in stratagems that, for example, we got one Necron detachment, we got all the best stratagems in the game because they do for some reason. I still think that we are not there yet. That's that's my opinion. A lot of things that needs to be tweaked. We'll see how it evolves after the changes starting new year. I don't know, January or February. There will be updates with what we'll have, and there will be an update in June, I guess, with balancing that is late before WTC. So we still have like two big updates, meta shifting updates, new codexes incoming. What do I like about the balance is that we do have codexes and releases less often than we used to have. So we can actually prepare and have some more time to analyze the codexes and stuff. What I don't like is that we are getting simply more or less simplified edition in terms of balance. So a lot of stuff and the codexes and builds will be sorted out and solved. The optimal approaches for index armies will be solved before WTC, and there will be not too much to find some tricks. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there will be some funny ideas, good ideas in balancing data slates, but we'll see. In general,
100% sold on that, because even now I think when we've had mainly indices for the last 6 months, but there's still some place for innovation.
I mean there are some places, but or like GS, I'll just refer to GSC. GSC is basically more or less solved, and you can have options, but they're suboptimal. Yeah, that's the thing. But we'll see. Yeah, what I actually do like that they are doing the work. They're trying to do the work and to balance it out. I think that people responsible for that do not understand it fully. Why some of the armies are strong, why some of just flat out don't work because they can't work with the current design. I'm a little bit worried that they will, for example, in Avmec case, if Avmec doesn't see any place in a competitive metagame, then they will just straight up approach it and reduce points everywhere, and then Avmec will become a spam army. I'm a little bit worried of that approach. We'll see. Yeah, that's it. I think.
I'm back. What did I
So
miss?
what do you think of the balance?
Have you?
What do I think of the
Missed
balance?
point. We've rated the missions.
Yeah, I see.
I've
I
put it
see
in
the.
yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
So
Alright.
we need your score, and then you can tell us what you think about the balance at the beginning, after the quick fix, and obviously now
Yeah.
after the still September data slate meta.
Right. So for the missions, basically, I think we put the nail on the head with that description. I will give it a 7 just because I think the move with the cards and so on was good. I think the flexibility of giving you fixed versus tactical and the difference of how many points they bring you if you take fixed and tactical is good, and that's good design. Um, as I said, I would only like people to GW to monitor whether the missions are, for example, included or not in the tournament packs. And if they are not, that means that probably they are people don't see them as fitting for a competitive setting, and then they should be removed and something new should be brought in that place to sort of refresh or like introduce a rotation of missions or something like that to make it a little bit more fresh. So for me, that would be a 7 because the overall concept is good. Now, when it comes to balance, I I'm still shocked that a company that has been doing this for tens of years is not able to release a balanced game. They have all the time in the world. They set the dates. They have everything under their control, and yet they release a product that is simply broken, and it's at times it can be regarded as off-putting. Uh, I like the fact that they introduced the data slates and that the data slates are released timely when they say that they will. But the sheer fact that they needed to hire a balance officer, I guess, there was an opening for that role, and they brought in a person who is responsible for the balance of the game, shows that they just don't know how to do it. They need someone from the community to actually do it for them. Finally, why so late? Uh, I don't believe when they say that the game was beta tested or that they were testers and so on. Either the testers were blind or refused to see certain points, or they were fans of certain armies and allowed them to exist in the way that they were released. So the data slate actually helped a lot, brought some armies up, and I would like to say brought some armies down, but that's not the fact. And I still cannot believe that the company has the audacity to say that they are changing some rules because of the feels bad factor, like Psychic Phase and Tau. But then they release units or entire armies that are just feels bad generators, like I don't know, CSM and the Forge Fiend with rerolls, sustained lethals, and devastating wounds that can erase a PVC in a single shooting phase, or the new Necrons, where like if you see an army of a Night Sight, two immortal blobs, one generating so many devastating wounds after coming out from the Night Sight that they destroy a PBC in a single phase, and then the second unit just gets into the Night Sight, drops down the next phase, the next turn, does the same to another unit. That's too much. That's I know people memed a lot about the reroll thing, but I still think there are too many rerolls, and I think GW should do something like a rating of power of certain abilities, and they should make sure that certain units do not get all of them at the same time. Like if you have indirect, no devastating wounds. If you have devastating wounds, no, I don't know, something else. 4-up feel no pain probably should be just reserved to characters. As I mentioned earlier, devastating wounds probably as well. There's just so many things that bunched up together create cancerous combinations that it would be useful if they took some, like, created a list of abilities that are too strong, put them in one bucket, not so strong, another bucket, fairly okay, another bucket, and then just make sure that the rules from the top bucket, the shitty cancerous bucket, they don't overlap on a single unit, because otherwise we're going to have Eldari, CSM, and whatever else was imbalanced at the beginning of the edition.
The
Oh, come on.
same
What's
thing
wrong
might
with
go.
slapping devastating wounds on a unit that can activate 5 times throughout a battle round? What can go wrong?
Or, take Night
the
Spinners
same-
with indirect devastating wounds, slowing you down, and good damage. That's
And
like,
wound rerolls.
Yeah.
and wound
The same thing they could do with stratagems in detachments. So you will never like have 3 or 4 the good stratagems and the best stratagems when in the same detachment. That will also be as a solution for some of the problems that not started to happen.
So I'm happy that GW is actually trying to, or working on the balance of the game. I'm happy that I hope that they hired that guy and that he is going to work on the balance of the game. That's great. But why so late? And did you really have to get a slapping from the players to actually start doing that?
Funny thing about that is that we already had one idea here how to balance the game out, and the company that hired so many people didn't come up with the same idea, and you just did it in like a couple of minutes. So yeah.
Especially that, again, tens of years of experience, 9 previous editions, and it seems like they came into the 10th edition with, like, they deleted all the data on their drives. They had a freaking brainwash, and then they started inventing 10th from scratch. And this is just something that I cannot comprehend. Like, you had so much experience that you could put into this edition, and you didn't.
I will put some defense on their side because usually it's really hard to balance the game so deep and so when so many factions, so many rules are involved. You need to like split work on design into a couple of teams, not particular people but teams, and if they don't contact each other, don't test out the things, then basically cancers like Eldari or GSC can arrive and be delivered from that. And I agree that there's some layer of validation missing, like something like testing balance officer or something like that. Yeah, like this is the thing that I'm missing personally, because it seems that every codex, and it also was signs of that. There were signs of that before in 9th edition with Votan codex that seemed to be like designed but completely in parallel to the game. So I guess it's something like we are doing some things in parallel, but there's never thing that integrates all the paths into a single piece in a single product. And the problem we have with the balance is that we actually never have the final product as a 40k game 10th edition, because when we reach this state, so all the codexes are released, we'll probably have
the new edition.
Another edition change. So we are working in an environment we'll never have a final product, and this is something that that personally is my personal opinion about 40k in general as a product. That I have never. I'm playing this game for a couple of years competitively. I have only had the final product for a couple of months in my 40k career.
Hmm. And
I
also,
don't have a I
yeah,
didn't
go on.
have like skipping 2 months of playing for taking rest at the end of 9th edition was where there were actually a final product and not balanced and stuff. I skipped that time, so I haven't had a final product of 9th edition in my hand, and that's something that also is relevant to balance, because when new things arrive, they're probably tested with the old rules and balanced against the old rules, and we never actually have the opportunity to be at the one place that's balanced in a couple of iterations. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, and I had to drop mid conversation, so I don't know what was said. I don't want to repeat stuff, but to be perfectly honest, and I wanted to use that as my summary when justifying the final rating of the balance in this edition. I hear a lot of competitive players say that the game is in a great place right now, and that the balance is as close to perfection as possible. Uh, I guess many of them forget to mention that yes, that's true for teams. It's absolutely not true for singles. I believe that singles is in a really bad state right now, and I refuse to play singles. I just don't want to play this game competitively for singles
Yeah.
because teams gives you a mechanism to actually avoid unfavorable matchups. And apart from camaraderie and so on, we're talking strictly balance. The only way for me for this game to be balanced right now is to give me a leeway to avoid certain matchups completely with my factions. So teams
Uh,
allows you to do that. In singles, sooner or later, your scissors will meet the stone or your stone will meet the paper, and that's just end of the tournament for you or end of that event for you, because there are certain matchups where you simply cannot do anything, and that's not where the game should be.
Yes, and I couldn't agree more with that. I will also repeat. I'm always telling that I'm a team player, so all of my opinions usually come from team experience and are relevant for team competitive play. So I'm not talking a balance about the singles games, because this is completely different game. I sometimes play singles if I'm invited somewhere, but I don't take too much focus on singles, because they are just straight up nonsense in terms of competitive play. Because one random thing as an unfavorable matchup, and your entire, for example, trip for USA can end in one day. So why should I do this to myself? No, I refuse to do that. I enjoy teams, enjoy the game right now. So that's a good news. Yeah, and singles is a totally different topic.
Yeah, you can see that even in the behavior of players. Like if when I hear David Gaylord say that he is taking Eldar to WCW because there is skill expression in that army and so on, I call bullshit. Like he's taking the army because it's the strongest army in the game and he wants to win the event, and that's it. When I look at, I don't know, Will Whitaker, who came to the LGT with his demons army, and he was playing demons and got destroyed by CSM in one of the games. Uh, then he took CSM to Leicester and won it. Like you clearly get an indication like which armies are strong, and it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be so one-sided. So yeah, singles and no for me right now. I'm not signing up for any other TTS singles leagues or anything like that. I'm just going to stick to teams, because in teams you get to choose your pairings more or less, or you can meander between the
Or
unfavorable pairings. And
or if you have one overpowered army in a team, probably the other team also have
also
it,
has one.
and yeah, so two armies, they balance out, and you can play for like 1-2 points. That matters because yeah, I scored 2 points against your hard hitter, and your team didn't score just zero against ours, so we won on this particular
Hmm.
uh, like exchange. Yeah.
Yep. Joker.
I mean, I think you've said it whole.
Your rating for
In
the balance.
terms of balance. Oh, my rating for the balance then. I was gonna rate it high, but then you guys started talking about those singles, etc. Sheesh. I mean, I was gonna say that I'm at a point where I'm kind of afraid before the data slate and any further releases that I would just ruin it. But in terms of balance, I'm gonna give it an 8 because it's in a solid spot. I can't remember when was the last time it was in a similarly solid spot.
Majson?
Yeah. For teams, I would also rate it 7 to 8. Let's call it 8. Yeah, it's 8 because it's better than it used to be at the beginning. For singles, it doesn't matter. So
for me, it does, and I guess you cannot speak of the game just considering teams, because
yeah,
teams is still not the more popular way of playing it. It is.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
If I'm to say what's the balance score for singles as a game, I'll just flat out give it 0 points because there's no such thing as balance in singles.
Yeah, unfortunately. So I do have to take that into account if I want to be like, or give a just opinion. So for singles, it's really bad. For teams, it's really good. Again, the fact that they haven't been able to learn from their mistakes makes it even worse. But the fact that the balanced data slate, the most recent balanced data slate that they released was probably the best balanced data slate in the history of balanced data slates, it's a saving grace. So I will give it a 5, just because I can see light at the end of the tunnel, let's say, or like the sun on the horizon. Like, it's going in the right direction. I just hope that they don't break the game with further codex releases, because Necrons, yeah, the bar is low, Fukushima. The Necron codex shows that you can do Eldari all over again, and I'm gonna be like very firm about that. The games that I have played against Necrons tell me that there are at least 2 detachments that need a closer look at, and there are certain units that, in certain combinations, are just OP. And I don't feel like it makes sense to put models on the table, like Death Guard models on the table against Necrons right now. I might be wrong. Again, I'm a scrub. I'm not a pro player. Probably players with higher skill wouldn't agree with me, but for me, when I know that I'm gonna face Necrons, I just don't see the point. So I wouldn't like the game to be in that state, and I wouldn't like the future books to do something like that to the game or to my playing experience. So it's a 5.
I'm curious if they're going to balance the detachments as a detachment as a whole. That's a thing that I'm curious about. If they're actually going to put some modifications into how the detachments are composed, or just modify some stratagems or stuff like that. That would be interesting, because for now, some of the detachments are like way better than the other ones. So maybe implementing some kind of a like minus 100 points for using the stupid Necron sheet. Maybe this is some kind of an idea, but yeah, let's see what they will do.
Yeah, I would like to see, again, what I said about the missions before, that I would like to see GW doing the data mining and like seeing which get used and which don't. The same should happen about detachment. Like, if there is an unfavorable, sorry, not unfavorable, but like unpopular detachments that people don't pick, have a look into that. Check why. Make it better. Make all the 6, or at least, let's say, I don't know, 4 out of 6 usable, so that the book remains relevant.
That would also make a game more interesting if you make like 4 out of 6 detachments usable. This will really impact the game in a positive manner, because you will have the variety, you'll have better options. I hope that the codexes will give us like a couple of options for optimal approach for a couple of armies, so you can counter something, find out different solutions. But for now, usually it's still the same. Pick the best detachment, pick the best units for that detachment, or the other way around. If you had straight up the best units in the codex, then you'll get the best units for the codex and find the best detachment for them. So that's the way to find out something broken, basically.
All right, guys. I think we've been doing this for over 2 hours now, so probably we need to get close to a finish. I have our averaged scores. So the average
Yay.
for Majson, with his -20 at some point for charge, is actually 4.67. For Joker, it's 6.79. And for me, it's 6.33. So if I take all our ratings and do an average out of them, the average is 5.93, which gives us a 6 rounded up. So 6 out of 10 is our rating of the edition.
And if you remove my -20, would it go to 7?
Let me see. I'll give it. You didn't really like the charge phase, so I'll give
0.
it a 1 or a
Yeah,
0.
give us
Okay.
0.
Right. So your average then is exactly the same as mine, 6.33.
So it's a 6.5 for the around for the three of us, right?
6.33. So the average is 6.5.
Let's keep it -20.
Yeah, the GW needs to learn the lesson. Right.
Yeah, for that stupid thing in charge phase and what the what the hell, this just messed up with my head. They deserve it.
So a closing statement from each one of us. Wish listing for the new year, one rule or one aspect of the game that you would like to change and how, and we will close with this one.
Yeah.
Joker.
You would no.
Yes,
Oh
let's start
no.
with Joker. Okay, Majson.
No, don't start
Let's
with
give
me.
Joker time to think.
You wouldn't expect that just change the stupid charge rule place. So you need to just surprising, but yeah, this is just limited that you don't have to finish with all models that can in base-to-base contact, and I will be more happy with the implementation.
Okay.
So just give me my tricks back, and I will be happy.
All right. For me, I guess I would like what I mentioned earlier. I would like GW to not include several or a couple of broken rules in one datasheet. I will take Night Spinner as an example. Slowing units down, good damage, indirect, devastating wounds. That's too much. Like either devastating wounds or indirect or good damage. Not all of them, because that breaks the game. So I would like someone to review that and implement it like across the whole range, not only Eldar but the entire game, and then we will be in a good place for singles as well.
It's amazing how you've managed to avoid using the middle finger when pointing those out.
That was very deliberate.
I think I'm then gonna go with either tweak the secondaries actually a little bit, not like a complete overhaul. I don't think that's necessary, and or just don't go crazy with the power creep and the codes with the further releases. That would be the most amazing bit, I think. But
Right.
that's probably the most wishful thinking.
Good. All right, let's finish with that. So you've heard it here. First, 6.5 is the contact loss rating of the edition, which means that there is plenty of room for improvement for GW, and let's hope we see the majorities of things improved in the upcoming balanced data slate. With that, we will be closing the year. So thank you to all our listeners for staying with us, for joining our Patreon. If you haven't already, please do, because we are planning some overhauls to the to the way that our Patreon works. We will make the Discord more accessible, and then we will modify the tiers a little bit. I already touched upon this on the previous episode as well, but during the first episode of the new year, we will probably outline a little bit more what the changes are going to be like. We are probably also going to look into YouTube memberships so that uh, our stuff becomes even more accessible in the Discord and the contents on the Discord and so on. We will continue our Facebook posts. So Mice on Mondays, Tournament Tuesdays, Thoughtful Thursdays, and Painting Fridays. So do check out our Facebook page as well, because there is some content over there as well that you don't see on YouTube, but still we post there and some effort goes into it. And yeah, stay with us for the next year, because plenty of interesting stuff is going to happen next year, and we will be there to report on it. So we hope that we will stay one of your favorite, if not the favorite, content outlet. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Joker. Thank you, Myson. Until next time. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye bye.